Probably the most requested video I have is how to diagnose Toyota EVAP systems. So it's the middle of the workday, I'm a little bit busy, so I'm gonna try to throw this together pretty quickly. But using the new Diagun again. See, I have some EVAP leak codes. I already performed an automatic EVAP test and it failed. This car has a little history. I know it's had all the valves replaced, so it had purge valve near the intake, had a vent valve replaced, also had what is called on a Prius, it's a purge valve for a bladder leak check. I'll explain a little more how that works later, but I guess we'll just get into it. So most of you guys know how EVAP system works, but I have an apprentice who just broke his ankle who's sitting at home. So I'm gonna try to help him out a little bit. Basically, you have fuel that expands, and when it expands, it goes into your charcoal canister. The charcoal canister is hidden above the tank on these Priuses. Sorry about the noise. You also have a purge valve up front that when it opens, it will suck the fuel vapors out of this charcoal canister. You also have a vent valve way on top of this gas tank that you'll never be able to see. The vent valve is just used to test to make sure that the EVAP system seals. Now on this Prius, you have this second purge valve. They call it a purge valve, but basically all that it does is detect to see if the bladder inside of this tank is leaking. Now inside of a Prius tank, you have a rubber bladder that expands and contracts. So you have one line coming into this valve. This is coming from the charcoal canister. You have another line coming into this valve. This is from the gas tank, but not inside the bladder. It goes between the bladder and the gas tank. Then you have this line that purges. So when this valve turns on, when this valve is on and the purge valve is on, it actually pulls vacuum through this hose to detect if the bladder's leaking. It will use the oxygen sensor to see if the fuel mixture goes rich. And if the fuel mixture goes rich, it knows that the bladder inside of the gas tank is leaking. Usually though, it purges through this hose, which goes to your charcoal canister. Now, I already have my smoke machine hooked up, and for me, the key is this flow gauge. I'm going to try to isolate this charcoal canister from the gas tank to see the location of the leak. I'm going to do that by pinching off this hose that goes from between the gas tank and the charcoal canister and seeing if my flow gauge decreases. That way I can isolate whether it is the canister or the purge side, or if it's the gas tank and the filler neck side, basically. Alright, so I have the line pinched off between the gas tank and the canister, and I also forgot to mention that you have to close off the vent hose. This is gonna sound ridiculous, but I just use an old rubber valve stem. They fit perfectly into these vent hoses. You can active test these. A lot of people say to active test the vent valves to close them, but I've noticed that our smoke machine pushes that valve open. It's just not an accurate test, so I like to plug them off. I also have the hose pinched off between the tank and the canister, and I'll watch that flow valve. Based on the flow valve, I still have a leak, and I know it's going to be on either the filler neck or the gas tank, just based on how I isolated the system in half, which is what I like to do. It's a lot harder to find EVAP leaks if you're just spraying everywhere, looking everywhere, so try to isolate your system if you can. So I'm gonna start looking mostly at this filler neck. I know a lot of Toyotas rust out at the filler neck. So I'm gonna look there and see if I find anything. It's hard to see in there, but that filler neck doesn't look rusty at all. So I'm actually probably gonna pull the back seat out and look at the top of the tank. I don't see any smoke, but I'll be honest with you guys, I almost never see smoke with a smoke machine. I don't know why, I don't know the trick, but I have far better luck. I have far better luck using soapy water and looking for bubbles. Well, I found the issue. Looks like I'm gonna pull that out, see if that gasket's bad. I'm hoping you can see this on video, but this plastic's actually cracked. That's where the leak's coming from. So I'm gonna see if we can get that part and see if the customer wants it fixed. Just gonna go in here and clear the codes. This thing, it is pretty fast. Clear fault codes, yes. Make sure they're cleared. No trouble codes. So just have to run the automatic EVAP test, make sure it passes. I'm really liking this new Diagun. I'm gonna leave a link in the description below. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this, especially the people who were asking for an EVAP video. It's like I said, it's hard for me to film these because usually they're fixed in and out in a day, and I gotta get cars in and out in the middle of the day. But I was able to film this one. Might be a lot of background noise, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope I explained at least the Prius EVAP system well. We have a couple different EVAP systems on Toyota, so I hope you enjoyed this. And if I get another car, non-Prius, with an EVAP system that I can film, I'll do that as well. But I really like this Diagun. Really came in handy. Leave a link in the description below, and see you guys next time.